Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Ian McDougall from VTIC, and we're delighted to welcome you all, and there are lots of you out there I can see, to the latest in our VTIC Webinar Series, put together with ourselves and our digital marketing company, Webfirm. Delighted to have Webfirm back on board and partner with us in this webinar series. And hey, we are absolutely wrapped today. Sherry Link Communications, one of our very proud VTIC members, is here. It's got a really, really good topic today, Smarten Up Your Chinese Marketing Strategy. And we're absolutely wrapped that both Sherry and Ben from Sherry Link are here today to present today's webinar. So without any further ado, over to Sherry and Ben, and I'll come back at the end and talk about a few further upcoming events. Welcome, Sherry and Ben.
Thank you so much, Ian. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for sparing your time with me today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank VTIC and Webfirm to host this seminar, and particularly special thanks to Ian, because I know I've been bothering you a lot about organizing this event. Particularly, I think it is a little bit stressful around the time when we're trying to, make all this happen today, because I'm just
wrapped. You can fly back in today for the webinar, Sherry.
Correct.
Right.
So I just actually got back from Shanghai this morning. I was there for a few days on a business trip for W Hotels, helping them with some of the events with their, one of the fashion shows actually. Today actually is my second time to host a webinar with VTIC. Last time was actually about a year ago, and I still remember the topic was about what is WeChat and why it is important for our business here to actually engage on this platform. So what really have happened in the past 1 year? We have done some of the work, I guess more work for us actually, right, Ben? Because we've been working with the Department of Education and Training. We've been working with Queen Victorian Market, Study Adelaide, and Melbourne Airport. Something about doing this business is not only just me giving advice or recommendations to people. I actually learned a lot from working with my clients on different projects. Especially, I started working with Union Pay this year. I assume probably you already heard about Union Pay, which is one of the state-owned government banking system in China. What we did with them in the past 12 months is we're managing a couple of the media campaign to really target Chinese audiences in Australia about different, offerings that, they offer to their cardholders. Among the stakeholders Union Pay try to choose to partner with, some of them actually are, operating in travel industry, such as the Sydney seafood market, and also there's another one is our Melbourne Airport as well. So back to my question, what really had changed since past 1 year? For me, not so much. The reason why I say that, a lot of people will say, Sherry, I disagree with you because the market is so dynamic and the customers become so sophisticated today, and there is changing all the time. But for me, from my personal view, I still think people actually are engaged in a similar sort of ways. It's all about what kind of platforms they're using or which media they prefer to actually acquire information from. So China market is still our top source market in tourism industry and also in international education industry. They still, as Chinese, we still enjoy taking selfies and post on WeChat. We still like to adopt new products, mainly based on word of mouth or peer-to-peer recommendations. However, when I say relatively, the consumers haven't really changed that much, I do see big changes from our service providers who have been so driven to upgrade their products, improve their service quality, and to accommodate this market as well. And I can see a lot of increased competition among all industries to try to attract China market. So while the Chinese, market remain relatively for me unchanged, I do have gradually changed my recommendations for our business and brands here in Australia about targeting the right consumers for their business. So today I did prepare a few slides here for you to share with you, but most importantly, I want to remind you, you can ask questions at the end of the slides. But it doesn't stop you to actually type in the questions right now in the dialogue column, so we can actually collect them at the end of the PowerPoint, end of the slides. Then I can answer all the questions one by one. So I guess today my focus is not about just showing you some of the data. It's really about sharing with you my personal journey, being working with a lot of Australian government agency and clients here about market China and what I have learned from the past 24 months and how I think we should really plan more smartly in order to reach a success within our budget. So I want to take all of you, before I officially start about my slides, I really want to take you down to my memory line. I started my firm in Shanghai back in 2011, and I was very lucky to actually had a very good client, which was Garuda Indonesia. And I believe most of you have been to travel to Bali. You probably heard about this airline. So it's a state-owned international airline, 5-star Star Trek. They actually give me 6 million at the time, Chinese dollars, which is equivalent to 1.1 million Australian dollars, to engage in all sorts of marketing activities, which covers PR, social media, exhibition, festival, some of the celebrities or KOL engagement. So we did spend it all in a year. We formed some strategic partnership with C-Trip, created a Garuda holiday page. We invited some famous celebrities, took filmed a micro movie, which at the time was very popular for a lot of brands to do this kind of form. To invite a few celebrities, took maybe 5 minutes video clip and put them on their social media or advertisement, broadcasting it basically to create brand exposure. And we also did something fun, which is flash mob dancing under the Great Wall, which is really funny because imagine, the tourists there, including the foreign tourists there, they were climbing the Great Wall, and suddenly there were 30 teenager pop-up K-pop dancers dancing with the crazy music and with the mascot from the Garuda Indonesia and doing all sorts of crazy stunts. And so it was quite actually a fun event, and we put it on the internet and it became viral as well. So I was told at the end of the year, the sales compared to the last year, it did actually go up by 8%. But nobody actually told me what this value for this 8% increase. So I assume and I hope they did cover their 6 million budget, which they were given to me at the very beginning. After actually working in China, I moved back to Melbourne, to this most livable city in 2014, and rebranded my firm and transformed into CherryLink in 2015. With the mindset that I wanted to help all our tourism-related business to market mainland China. And in the past 2 years, I have met so many people in Victoria and other parts of Australia. People have been telling me they wanted to market China, they want to actually help, and they want to, they're excited about this potential market out there, which we all heard is a great source of market, is all, double-digit growth in a lot of industries for us. While I was excited, I sat down with many of them to see what I can prepare a tailor-made proposal for them so we can actually, plan better and target better with the budget. And after numerous meetings and many months passed, I gradually realized there was a common question we're facing, a problem we're facing is our budget. The most asked question for me is people will ask me, Sherry, what can $10,000 bring to me? And my honest answer is not much. And I was given by one of the government agencies here $80,000 to spend in the past 2 years to market China, which means $40,000 per year to market the potential clients there. All we did with $40,000 is one major campaign and one social media engagement, which probably helped them to reach 20,000 targeted segment for me, I think that's a good result because I feel 20,000 people which are targeted, I know they're my potential customers, and it's actually, for me, it's a good result. That's, give you an idea about what $40,000 brought to us in a year. But can we be so smarter about this segment that we want to target? I started to think about this question. I started to write up my proposal now from another angle. Instead of looking out, why don't we look in? We are in great position to leverage all the Chinese residents and students who are actually currently living in Australia, particularly living in Victoria, who can be easily transformed into our brand ambassadors with a reasonable cost, no matter the size of the budget. So that's now finally move to looking at our first few slides, where I quickly put out some data here to share the size of our potential brand ambassadors here. So we all know 2016, we had a census nationally. That's the data for the Chinese migration. We can see Melbourne has just over 350,000 people here, which accounts for 8.5% of the total Chinese population in Australia. However, how realistic this data is, I'm not sure, because I live here and I never fill the form. And I don't know anyone around me join this census. I heard about there was a penalty, but
it was also online. There were some issues as well, but remember that census was online. It didn't work quite so well. Yeah, I don't know. Lots.
So Ian, do you think the international students fill the form as well?
I honestly have no idea. It's normally fairly rigorous, but I actually would have thought the number was a little bit higher than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
a little bit.
Let's look at this as just the Chinese residents who live here. We might take the international students out for now. So there's a data which we're going to share in the second page. I'm going to skip the second one for now. The importance of international education, which is our top one export industry right now in Victoria. So according to the Ministry of Education from China, they recorded 544,500 Chinese students went abroad in 2016, which is also, you can see on the right column, there are only 3 destinations are ranked as the top destinations. It's America, UK, and us. And we actually account for 27% of the Chinese students here. Another slide was telling you this year, just freshly made from Austrade, the Australian Education International, is how many international students currently studying in Australia. And the China, absolutely, you can see there's an increase in the orange column bar here to show you how much it increased compared to 2016. So China is indeed the biggest source market for international education as well. And yesterday, I found one friend who actually works for Austrade in Shanghai, because I wanted to ask her one very important question. I said, what is the latest enrollment for the Chinese students who actually enrolled this year, July, in Victoria? So she gave me a data. It's 69,947, which is almost 70,000 Chinese students just enrolled with us this year in July. So with all this amazing number, as you can understand, that they are great stakeholders for us to leverage, not mention themselves as a consumer, but also their friends and families are very likely to visit them for holiday. And also, parents will accompany their students come here to study if they are under age 18 or 16. So that's the market size we're looking at here in Australia. So what I'm going to do next is to really summarize a few segments I think we should pay attention to. So understanding the Chinese residents in Australia. The number one top segment, I put families. Chinese families who have kids here. I put students as a second segment, which is year 9 to year 12, because most of the students who are under year 12, they need to accompany possibly by one of their parents. So their parents become another segment. There are a huge number in the higher education sector, people who are here to study at a TAFE college and universities for their tertiary qualifications. And the last one is young professionals, people who actually graduated from uni and now starting to work in all industries. Most likely will be working in a position that is China related, given they have a bilingual speaking skill. So this segmentation, of course, you can segment the market according to different dimensions, and this is a dimension I commonly use because I do profile them for each of my clients. When I profile each segment, I will list out their age group, their lifestyle choice, what are they heavy users on social media, how do they actually acquire information around them. If they want to work out where to eat, where to shop, where to spend the weekend, do they look at the Australian mainstream media or do they look at the media actually owned by Chinese or published by the Chinese media? So that's the question I really ask whenever actually I think about my target audience. And I often observe myself because I'm a part of them. I observe my friends, I observe my employees to really understand, and I often ask them the question, where do you acquire your information about what's going on in Melbourne or around the world or anything? So the next page, do you recognize these logos? I picked a few. There are hundreds that I can share with you that Chinese actually access or acquire information from all these different platforms. The first one you can say is called Melbourne Delivery. It's a mobile app. Melbourne Delivery is the Chinese version of Deliveroo that, almost, I think 90% of Chinese who would actually at least heard about this app, or 50% of them would at least use it to deliver some Chinese food to their home. So Melbourne Delivery is a mobile app that I usually use in my media campaign. The format I'm using them is to do pop-up ads or banner display to showcase whatever the campaign I'm currently engaged. And it's really effective because I know they will reach the Chinese-speaking residents here. The second one, Melbourne Today, is where most of the Chinese living in Melbourne acquire information about what's going on around them. Not only just the news about the Chinese residents, it's also the news about politics, economy, immigration policy, and everything which is related and people care. And there are other couple of the platforms, which I'm not going to mention all of them here, but I'm just using this as an example. That's people are reading this, just like people reading The Age and Harrison. Cine Impression is the third one, and under that is WeCine are also the top two WeChat media, which is actually quite popular to give information about what's happening in the city they live in. There are another two categories, Dianping.com, which is the equivalent app to Zomato. Previously it was called Urban Spoon. People use it to actually search where to eat. And also it includes where to shop and where to, what to do. The amazing thing about Dianping.com is they actually probably one of the top mobile apps used in China, which means no matter which cities you're living in China, if you live in Beijing, you live in Shanghai, Shenzhen, or Chengdu, when you want to find out the reviews of the restaurants or what are the top recommendations. This is the site that people go to. So what happens with the Dianping.com in Australia? Imagine when people just landed from China, first day in Melbourne. What will they do? The first thing they will do is to think about, okay, where should I go and have dinner? I want to go someplace that's nice. The amazing thing about Dianping.com is not only they actually allow you to put a banner ads at the Melbourne page or Sydney page or Brisbane page, or at your choice. It also does automatic push notification to say, hey, we know you are here. Why don't you check out these top 10 places to go or top 10 restaurants we recommend? Everybody who download this app will receive this notification. And that is a very specific target of the people who actually just traveled from mainland China to Melbourne. iTrip.com, I think most of you might familiar with, is one of the platforms that are providing a lot of the tour products and travel packages. And it is commonly used by a lot of Chinese tourists today to book their trips and find out their day tours, what the prices are, and even access to some tickets for attractions. So this is how the some of the platforms that the Chinese consumers are using. And I also already mentioned a little bit about how we actually capture Chinese visitors just now. So when they landed, what do they do? Of course, searching for information. And what are the platforms they really are using? Besides the iTrip and the Dianping.com I mentioned, there's another 4 which is really popular. MyPhoneWall is one of the FIT-focused travel platform that people actually leave photos, leave tips for other people to share. And you can also book hotels and book the day trips or package from it. Chongyu does the same. China, I think a lot of people heard about it. It's actually belong to Ctrip as well. Amazingly, people are using TripAdvisor. And it is true, TripAdvisor also have a Chinese version one in China. But guess what? When people actually land in Australia, they're using the English one. They're using something we all use, which is Google. But have you ever tried something differently? To put, instead of searching in English, what to do in Melbourne, have you ever tried to put, ask a Chinese friend or a Chinese employee to write down what to do in Melbourne in Chinese characters and to see what are, the top page shows? I think you'll be interested to find out. And I'm saying Google works because even it doesn't work in China, but everybody knows it works outside of China. So when they come to a foreign country, this is their Bible. They use it to guide them to do a lot of things. So do care about your Google ranking and do care about your reviews on Google as well, because that's going to affect them making choices as well. And last, I'm going to mention something. It's called WeChat Pay. You all heard about it, I believe, because they came to Australia about a year ago. And there are a couple companies actually here doing it and offer exactly the same deal. ShareLink as a city partner for Royal Pay, which is one of the major players to offer this service. We do offer this service as well. However, you don't have to come to us because it's, no matter who you go, it's the same process. And I believe it's the same cost to set it up. It is 0 fee to set it up, around 2% surcharge when people pay. And a lot of merchandisers, they do apply this 2% to the consumers. And what happens is the transaction is going to happen in Chinese dollars, and you will receive them possibly in 3 days on your account, Australian dollars, and using the transaction daily conversion rates. The China mobile payment right now is absolutely on fire. And we will have a data here showing you what are the market share. From this chart, you can see the WeChat Pay at the beginning was only 15% just 2 years ago. now is catching up. It's almost at, equivalent share to the Alipay. So WeChat Pay is built in with the WeChat, the app. So you actually need to download the app, hook your app with your bank account to be able to use it. But the good thing about it is it's web-based and it's easy to use. You can scan it, you can transfer the money to each other, you can do the red packet, which is the Hongbao way to give people money. And we all loved it. In fact, the WeChat Hongbao, which is giving money in the red packet on WeChat, is the most commonly used function on WeChat. I would also like to continue this about WeChat conversation by sharing you a report just released by Tencent in October this year that they shared some valuable data with us. There are some highlights that I want to mention. One, they concluded the average number of WeChat contacts has increased significantly over the past year, which means now the user who actually have a WeChat account have more friends, more contacts on their contact list than previous year. For me, I have 3,000 contacts on my WeChat account, and when I first started at 200, it grew up to 500, now it grew up to 3,000. So averagely, I think people now gained a lot of friends, acquaintances from all sorts of channels. There's also a large increase in the amount of money running through WeChat Pay from last year. And the average age of a WeChat user, which we're going to share in one of the slides coming up, and we'll talk about that later. And look at the time. People usually spend at least 66 minutes per day on this. And 83% of the respondents who were, surveyed, including the survey, saying they're using WeChat now for work. My company, all our employees, we're using WeChat for work. We form different WeChat group with our clients. Our clients are not Chinese, they are all Australians, but they're using WeChat to communicate with us because we are managing their China social media. We talk about the content, we talk about images all the time on WeChat, and it's one of the most effective way to work. And WeChat Pay is used by 93% of those surveyed for offline purchase in Tier 1 and 2 cities in China. And 44.5% of users claim they now actually not carrying cash at all because they love using WeChat Pay. So I'm going to skip the WeChat. You can have a look at later. I'm going to share you a few of the report slides from the China channel shared. The key statistics for WeChat, 889 million users, absolutely make WeChat become the top one most active social media platform in China. And what are the age group who are using it? As you can see the chart, there's a change between the previous 2 years and 3 years, actually, 2014, 15, 16. So it's not about the teenagers. It's not an app that is heavily used by teenagers in China, which is a great news for us because I believe most of business people are actually mainly targeting at a middle age or even, senior age. So WeChat is continue to make gains into the middle age and the senior age groups. These groups in general, they have a more disposable income, which means they can afford to actually travel abroad and buy or shopping for more things. They are actually very active on WeChat. And also one of the primary payment methods for offline purchase these days. As you can see how heavily it was used by the first and the second city. Almost 94 and 93.6 adoption rate. Slightly lower in the Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities. And Apple Pay really struggles. They don't have a market share much in that market. So for us, we talk about WeChat a lot, but what really WeChat saying to us? Every corporate, every organization, every brand, they own something that we call WeChat official accounts, which means account for business. This is account for business that people actually, you can see only 76% of accounts had 10,000 followers, What does 10,000 followers mean here? 10,000 followers is actually a number that we think is a great number to start engaging followers more regularly, set up more scheduled regular engagements. So to achieve 10,000, of course, you still need to start to do a lot of incentive-based campaigns, but not everybody can achieve that. That's the reality. So owning a WeChat official account and how to make it work for you, it become one critical question. That's why the next slide is extremely important, because you talk about the moments preferences. What are the moments? Moments just like your Facebook page. You share with your friends about what are you doing? What are you being, watching, eating, traveled, and also your personal opinion, your personal attitude. What do you like? So as you can see, the highest percentage of sharing here is in the personal life records, which means if I went to Europe, I want to show you, my travel dialogue, my travel diary that I actually recorded Venice being pretty, Rome being chaotic. And there's also a huge percentage here, which I want really quickly mention, is a 39% and 33.8% recorded here. It's about content sharing of interest. So what content do you share on moments? People like to share the content which they found is valuable, practical, and also maybe sharing the similar opinions or representing a value that they agree on. So they want to really share who they really are. So being self-expressive, it basically is for everyone now. But they still want to choose the opinions and values which actually they agree on. So that's why the moment's becoming a place where people to say who I am by sharing what they do and what they read and what they have seen. So I provided an example here about a WeChat post, which I've personally found is amazing. The reason why I didn't find a travel related, given our audience are mostly in the travel industry, because I haven't seen one article like this. And I think it's really interesting for you to have a look at as well. This is talk about the luxury brands. Hermes. We all know about this brand. We all know about how expensive this brand is, how long you have to be waited on the waiting list to get a bag, a handbag. But this guy, Toko, he was commissioned by Hermes to write this article. So this article is a lot longer than these 4 pages. This is all the screenshot I did. It went along for another 1,000 words. So the topic was talking about why would I buy an Hermes bag? Because I want to save money. That's his point. That's his perspective. So he started reasoning why buying a very, very expensive bag is actually going to save you money. So for Chinese users, imagine they're browsing all sorts of the articles. They saw a title which is completely the opposite of the normal people would think. Naturally, what we call is in Chinese, we have 3 words to describe this kind of article. It's called a 标题党, which means an article that only use titles to attract people's attention. A lot of media do that. But when they did that title, they make people to open it, but the content failed people to make them feel interested. But this article actually didn't fail people. He went around to talk about his idea. He thought about, okay, you can buy Fendi, you can buy LV, you can buy Gucci. But I'm sorry, if you look at that second picture, these bags are just the packaging bag for Hermes. That's his first view. It's not on the same scale that you can compare why I should go buy a Fendi bag, why I shouldn't buy a Hermes. The second one is talking about the price differences and how much it worth. Because Hermes actually has value through the year, it doesn't really lose that much value. In fact, they increase their price every year. So when people selling the second hand, they still actually got a lot of money back. So he actually did the mathematics here. He said, actually, buying a Birkin is gonna cost you this much at the beginning, but at the end of the day, when you sold it, you look at all these beautiful 5 years you've been using it. Each month, you actually save the money for using a Chanel or Fendi or LV bag. So this article, the last page is showing you how many people read it. The reason why it only shows is a 100,000 plus, because this is the viewership only WeChat shows. Any viewership more than this, WeChat stops counting. And guess how much Hermes paid for this one article? 60,000 Australian dollars for this one post to basically, traveled around all the people who actually love luxury bags and possibly brainwashed a few who actually was originally going to buy Chanel. Now they're thinking Hermes is actually saving the money. So that's the content working. I'm also showing you on this slide is about the travel industry, the Tourism Australia WeChat account, and also our Tourism Victoria, now we call Visit Victoria. They both are active on WeChat as well. The first two pages is from Victoria to Visit Victoria. Some posts, they only got 1,000 viewership, but for some posts, they will get to maybe 3,000. If you look at Tourism Australia one, they will normally have an average of 7,000 to 8,000 viewership, which is not bad. Because in order to reach all this viewership, you will have at least triple of the viewership as your followers. Because the reality is not everybody is gonna open the post and read it. So this comes to a question part that I actually gonna open the question now. But before we actually receive the questions from you, I wanna answer one question that I raised today is, because I often got people ask me this question, Sherry, do we need to be on WeChat? Should we have a WeChat account? The answer is yes or no. The reason is, if you do not have, let's say, 30 grand or to 40 grand budget to set aside to make this account work, if you don't have this kind of commitment, maybe it's not a good idea. The reason is it needs a lot of time and needs a lot of energy to actually make one account really working for you. The content always are the most important fact that we spend the most time. So we're providing such service. Let me tell you, when we first started business, I promised, we do this as a monthly retainer service for a couple of our clients. At the beginning in my contract, I would write down, okay, we will guarantee 3 posts per week. So we will spend maybe 3 to 4 hours on researching, editing, layout, translating to release the posts. But gradually, I realized the quantity do not help with the increase in the viewership and gaining more followers. Then we start to change to 2 posts per week. But in reality, this year I want to try something with one of the brand we just took over is a W Hotel. Then we're going to try 1 post. Just to really make 1 post work, to give you an idea, it takes 2 to 3 days to really working on the angle, the research, and getting the images right, and getting the story worth to be shared. So what kind of story people want to share? That's the question, the content copywriter needs to think. So whether you need a WeChat or not, it really come back, okay, if I don't have that big budget, can we work on a smaller budget? The answer is yes, but then we're really going to focus on making 1 or 2 posts really popular at a time and then we're adding 1 or 2 campaigns to make the content travel. And hopefully that particularly one content will turn into a great brand story and it will be recorded just like the Hermes one being shared by millions of people. So I think that's my view on WeChat. So we talk a lot about, really focusing on the Chinese residents who actually, also the students who are actually living in Australia. I know I've been talking mainly about WeChat because this is the answer for a lot of engagements. Even when we do media campaign, we do posters, we do outdoor advertising. But at the end, I think you're still looking at your social media account as one of your own digital assets because you do want them to retain with you. So advertising is once off, but social media is more long-term. It's more engaging, and you can always go back to them and get back to them with a different approach, different content that you structured. Okay, so that's all from me. I'm now gonna look at the questions I got so far. Ian lost order is my season or yours? I think okay. From Kim, I believe university give data on students population. Yes. Kim, Australian Education International, they do release quarterly report on all universities or states data. So I believe there's a huge Excel spreadsheet they actually share for free that we can acquire the data from them. And I think it's really useful if you think the students are one of your target segment. I would highly recommend you to download that data and also the China, I believe it's called the China Snapshot, to actually read upon, the latest data and what are the trends on that.
Yeah. Let me jump in with another question on this one, Sherry, from one of the people. I think it was Steve wrote, how important is it that tourism operators have WePay facilities set up for their Chinese visitors to pay with?
That's a very good question, because you basically, I think, should consider WeChat Pay when you either sell your products through an e-commerce way online, or you actually have a physical retail shops. Because remember, the way we pay WeChat is to scan the QR code. So you do need to be able to have a sticker, have the QR code printed out to say, this is my QR code for the payment. Another way to do it is integrated with your website. If your website already have a payment solution on that, they will be just adding another solution for WeChat Pay.
Okay. Well, I hope that one answers Steve's question. Another one here from Terry, I think it is. What differentiates the VFR market in terms of what they want from a tourist perspective from the regular Chinese visitor? So what I guess is that the people who are living here, the Chinese people who are living here, want differently, if at all, from the visitors straight from China?
Definitely. I think our residents here, or people who live here, actually want a more in-depth experience. Particularly when we think about the Chinese visitors, if they are first-time visitors, a lot of them will, fly to Sydney or Great Barrier Reef. Probably not Great Barrier Reef this month, but definitely, when they first come to Melbourne, they will go to Great Ocean Road. They will go to, whatever the top attractions, which is recommended either by Ctrip, Trinar, or the other platforms I mentioned. But our travelers here, including myself, our residents here, including myself and also my friends' families here, we looking for something more local, more authentic. More we think is, that you don't really easily access.
Yeah. So possibly more than a day trip as well, more overnight stays in regional areas, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it's normally day trip or long weekend we're looking at.
Yeah.
The long haul holiday for the Chinese, I think they will go interstate and also outside of country as well.
What about regional accommodation? A lot of regional accommodation operators ask us, how can we get some of the Chinese residents living in Melbourne to come and stay in Ballarat on the Great Ocean Road and Gippsland, those sorts of areas? What are some really good ways to actually reach those people?
I think my answer is social media, and I have a great example here. Is I hope I pronounced this right. Lake Tyrell, Tyrell. They become such a heated place since last year, due to a couple of photos shared on the China social media. How people, the mirror effect in that particular lake, and watching the milk white at night, people take great photos, and also the pink lake itself.
Yep. It's a beautiful area. Yeah.
It is a beautiful area, but it only become suddenly, I think last year, that everybody at least paid a visit now from, who actually live in Victoria, who live in Melbourne, at least paid a visit there, because we all want that kind of photos. This comes back to actually really talking about how, today people share their travel photos on the social media, and of course people, it become a trigger to make people actually have the desire. And I think we need to think about this way. It is the fact that the Asians love photos. We all love photos. We retouch all the photos. If you look at my WeChat moments after you become my friends, I have to tell you the truth, I do not look like that. Because I retouch my skin, and also I skin my arms, my faces, my cheek all the time. But you know what? I don't care, because everybody else does that. All my friends do that. The thing is to really find a good selling point for your property or for your tour package, and make it fun, make it unique, make people want to share on WeChat. And the amazing thing about the Chinese people living in Australia is, within 3 people, I think I can get to know everybody. I commonly added a new friend on WeChat and realized, tons of mutual friends. Because whenever they started commenting on my post, I realized, we have mutual friends. And then you realize how small the community is. Again, how influential it can be, because we can see each other's view and opinion and experiences today easily.
Yeah, the old 6 degrees of separation really brings people together. A few more questions have come in as well, Sherry. Leah's been pretty active. How do you identify Chinese social media influencers for local Chinese residents?
We just did a campaign this month actually with Mecca. I believe the ladies probably know MECCA. Mecca is one of our top makeup chain here. So we try to identify some KOLs who are actually living here, but they're not commercialized yet. So they are just the Chinese people who, the users who actually enjoying taking photos and posting on their Instagram or WeChat, and then accumulated a certain number of followers, so that we identify, okay, you will actually have 20,000 followers. You are qualified to be called a KOL. But when we reach out, they will come back to say, but I'm doing that just for my own hobbies.
Sure.
I don't really want to do the hard selling. But of course, we did actually try, with the Mecca being a great brand, we did actually try to persuade them. We give them some gift pack with a lot of makeup, skincare products. So they do actually promote that particular campaign for us. But there's no exactly one person who actually currently living here that I personally think they clarified as a KOL. But the thing is, there are some influential people who actually not saying I'm charging this much to do this. But then in mainland China, it's a complete different industry. At least you need to spend over $20,000 to make a good KOL to say something about you in China, because it becomes so commercialized. I want to give you one of the example about the most expensive KOL in China and how much they cost to release one post. So it is 40,000 RMB for one post, which is how much in Australian dollars?
It's $7,000, yeah? Thereabouts.
No, sorry. No, not 40,000, 400,000.
Adds another zero to the end of it.
Please add another zero. So it's $70,000 to have this top 1 KOL on WeChat to release one product information about you. This is how expensive this industry become.
Okay, let's work at the other end of the spectrum, though, if we can, please, for a second. This actually will answer Joe's question as well. Thanks, Joe, for tuning in again this morning. If you don't have the budget for WeChat, what others, or are there any other social media channels, Sherry, that you'd recommend?
So,
because a lot of our members don't have the greatest budgets of all. And how can you achieve a lot with little?
I actually did mention let's focus on content.
Yeah.
Let's focus on make one or few stories work for you. So give you an idea, to set up a WeChat account is not that expensive. It's $2,000. You can set it up. And with a full menu enabled, your product information, your contact details, and everything on that. That is only takes 7 days to complete that. But I assume a lot of us can afford the $2,000. But then what's coming after is you and I, or you and any other service providers, need to sit down and to work out a story for you. And also maybe one campaign to focus on one particular period of time. For example, you had an account set up. It's only cost you $2,000. But now you say, okay, I want to do something for Chinese New Year. Then we can possibly set aside, say, $10,000 to make the Chinese New Year campaign work. Because the reality is we still need the time to work on one great story to make your Chinese New Year promotion sell. Another one is because you don't have the 10,000 followers to start with, then you need to borrow the media account to broadcast your campaign. So that $10,000, we will put $5,000 to a media to say, hey, we're doing this campaign on our WeChat account. Please make this news travel.
Yeah,
so
maybe
they
by sharing or partnering with other members as well might be the way to go, to actually share budget.
Yeah, exactly.
And reduce the cost per individual.
Correct. And the most ideal scenario is the content, the brand story. You simply just wrote a fantastic post that people love, enjoy reading it. And one person shared on moments, 500 people viewed it. Some of them, 10% of them shared on their moments. And then, through that, they travels. And then your brand gets more exposure.
Yeah. Laurie's just come through with a good question. What type of campaign would you suggest for a startup tour company?
What kind of campaign it depends on who you want to target. So again, I think
the Chinese residents who are living here in Melbourne.
Yeah, and we need to ask one question: is which segment? I think all the marketing plan, if you really want to plan well, it starts to ask yourself a question: can I really narrow them down? Can I really, we are talking about the Chinese residents who live in Australia, but they different age group, they different needs.
Very true. And their visitors are from different segments as well.
They even follow different accounts. If you ask me, Sherry, what do you follow, to view all the day-to-day news? The accounts I'm following, my staff are not following. Because why? Ben is 12 or 15 years younger than me. That's a reality. He follows something else. And we have different interest things to read. So that's why really it's about sit down to profiling your segment and to think about what is the most effective way to reach them. If they are the university students you want to target, I might actually gonna recommend just to work with the students' union. The Chinese Student Union, they have a WeChat account, they have activities. We can sponsor a campaign for them to do. And there are posters that you can put on the campus. People do that kind of work as well. And it's really come to ask who are they and how do we reach them.
And making your own message stand out. Here's one totally from left field, Sherry. Some members have asked me over the years about the Chinese newspapers in Melbourne, like Singtao.
Yeah.
How good are they, and what sort of strategies would you recommend for working with some of the Chinese newspapers?
See, we use them. They are one of the media we do use when we want to promote something locally in a targeted area. Let's just put it this way. I think Singtao works better in Sydney than Melbourne. I believe their circulation is actually broader than Melbourne.
Yeah. But it's still got a fairly good Melbourne population as well.
It does, and it's also free. So it's free to acquire. And who reads it? The students don't read it.
Okay.
The family housewives, yes. You know, the people who actually are older generations, they read it.
Well, the housewives, well, we all know they're the decision makers, Sherry.
They are the decision makers indeed. But then again, it's different age group. So the housewives also have a different age group. You know, the younger ones, they still prefer access information from, you know, digital way. The traditional way is over a young child, over tea, you were browsing your newspaper. You know, even the posters, if you notice, if you go to a Chinese restaurant or Chinese grocery, you see posters that are people out there in Chinese.
Yep.
And, you know, that is also a way to expose your brand as well. If the suburb you're targeting is Boxhill, Glen Waverley for us, you know, the areas that are people who actually, you know, Chinese residents are in and out all the time. Yeah, that make all the senses, all the sense.
Yep. Few other comments. Actually, another one comments come in from Brad. He's been a regular on most of our webinars. Are there any instant steps our members can take now to attract Chinese visitors as soon as they arrive in Victoria?
Instant steps.
Instant steps. What's something you can do today, tomorrow? Really go bang bang and hopefully achieve a little bit of traction.
Then really choose the right media to work with.
Yeah.
So in the media campaign, you don't really need to have a huge budget here. If you know, choose just one right media to work with. I use Dazhong Dianping as example because I use them. I use Melbourne Delivery, and both of them can do something around $5,000 or under $10,000. The thing is, you know, it's about what campaign. So the marketing part is the engagement format. Because working with them, they're just a media. You still need to think about what kind of format you're using. That's why we draft campaign concepts for our clients to say, hey, for this segment, this year, this is enchant. Give you examples such as there's a popular show this year, absolutely the most popular show right now this year in 2017. It's called a Rap of China. Rap of China is about a group of Chinese singers, rappers. They sing rap. You know, they think, you know, they want to prove Chinese can rap. So they did a whole competition about it. And they had 2 winners, 3 winners actually, a bunch of them. They all become celebrities now. They're all famous. So catching this trend, after that particular show, there's so many engagement. It's about singing rap. You know, the slogan become, you know, you can rap the slogan, you can sing the rap, everything. And this is how the marketing coming to say, okay, this is enchant. We need to think about any engagement which is around this topic could actually attract this particular segment. And so you're looking at the things happening all the time as well. So when I say the consumers really, they want it, you know, they're still being engaged in a similar way by, you know, by social media, by digital way, but it's all about what really is enchant. What do people talk about? And then you sort of need to catch that and be able to
box at the appropriate time.
Exactly. Be able to integrate it into your campaign format and into your content as well. And also be able to identify, you know, some unique selling point proposition from yourself as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I think there are one more last question, and then we need to wrap up, I think. What are your views for our startup advertising in China, expense regulations, etc.? What sort of cost in general terms? Oh, it's a
God.
very broad question.
Very expensive. That's all I can tell you.
Advertising in China, because it's such a huge market and so many different mediums.
Okay, I can give you few, you know, just few references as my.
It might be better to actually take this one offline, I think. I think, Sherry, your email will be coming up pretty soon as a further contact. I think, Laura, you asked that question. Yes, and I think maybe get in touch with Sherry directly on that one, Laurie. And there was one quick one there. Can the presentation be emailed? No, what we'll actually be doing is putting it on our YouTube site within 24 hours. It should be on our YouTube site. So just click onto the home page of VTIC, the VTIC website, vtic.com.au. Up the very top, you'll see a little YouTube logo. Click on that and you'll see not only this wonderful webinar, but also a number of our past webinars as well. So thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Ben, for being in the background there. A really, really good webinar. Hey, people, before we go, just a quick reminder on a couple of upcoming events with VTIC. Upcoming webinars, 22nd of November, as always, the third Wednesday of the month, 10:30. Please diarise those. The next one is on government grants. We can show you where to look. We're partnering with Oz Industry and the Department of Education. Believe it or not, they actually say we're from the government and we're here to help, and they mean it. They actually have money to assist you in a range of different areas. Something you could be well worth your time giving up an hour or so on Wednesday the 22nd of November. Following that will be Wednesday the 13th of December, the second Wednesday of the month now, given Christmas, and that one's all about Verticom, 360-degree virtual wayfinding, virtual tours, and VR marketing. And that's being done with our brand new partner who was also at the Victorian Tourism Conference, Verticom. Other events coming up, one not to be missed, very exciting this one, the 29th of November, the VTIC Annual General Meeting. Something that is sure to be a real highlight on your calendar at the MCEC, the Melbourne Convention Exhibition Centre. It's also on the same day as VI, Visit Victoria's Victorian International Exchange. So same venue there, straight after that, about 4:30 is our AGM. Mike would kill me if I didn't mention it, the 2017 RACV Victorian Tourism Awards Gala Ceremony on the 23rd of November. Jump onto the website, the vtic.com.au website. You'll see lots of banners and links there to actually buy your tickets. It's a great night. Even if you haven't entered the awards, you need to be there for a really, really good, fun night. And there's the Victorian Industry Christmas function coming up on Monday, the 11th of December. VTIC puts this on every year in conjunction with our great partners, Destination Melbourne and the Melbourne Convention Bureau. Again, you should have been emailed information about it. If you haven't, it's on the websites, either Destination Melbourne, MCB, or of course the good old VTIC website. So I think that's it from us. A huge thank you to Sherry Link, to Sherry and to Ben for coming today. We really do appreciate it. The webinar will be on our website very, very soon. Once again, we couldn't do it without our digital marketing company partner, Webfirm. Thanks, Reese, Tristan, Luke, all the team here at Webfirm for your support once again. So really, there's only one thing left to say, which is, as we always sign off, VTIC, improving the world one webinar at a time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.